Well, good morning, Cam.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I do sometimes after I say good morning realize that it's morning for us,
Mm-hmm.
but it may not be morning for everybody that's listening. So,
That's okay.
yeah, you know,
Consider this an opportunity to restart your day. Good morning, everyone.
good morning. Are you enjoying your coffee this morning?
I'm enjoying my water this morning. I haven't had any coffee yet.
Oh, I had worked early at work yesterday, and I walked in, and my manager says, "Hey, how's it going?" This was like 8 o'clock in the morning that I had to get to work. And I was like, I am one cup of coffee in. I'll let you know two more cups of coffee. She just laughed. So I took a whole pot of coffee with me to work. This carafe that I have
Uh-huh.
from the Hastings Collective. Yeah, I took this whole thing to work with me. And drank on that until almost noon. So it was good.
Goodness.
Hmm.
Running around like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah. So we deferred our last episode because you were doing a wedding shoot. I wanted to know how did that go?
It went really, really good.
Yeah.
The bride and groom were super cool, real chill, very open to um just being like just like almost like it wasn't their wedding. Like the level of stress was so low, and I was the only one shooting the wedding.
Yeah.
I didn't have a second shooter. I didn't have anyone doing video. It was just me. Um, and it was a 1 hour, well, it was close to like 45-minute Catholic mass for the wedding. And so the setting was a very, uh, large Catholic cathedral. Well, large like for my town, not like, because there are some cathedrals worldwide that are, like Notre Dame, for example, right? Like just massive.
Hmm.
Um, but like uh the ceiling was probably, I don't know, 50 or 60 feet high. It had, it was like a domed thing above the altar, like very, very um interesting.
Hmm.
Uh and then there was obviously the photo time after, and then the reception and lots of fun, but it was super good. I think my total was 1,081 photos. And after the first pass, I had 331 that were at least worth looking at to decide to edit. Um, I will be spending a few hours later today. I'm shooting a quinceanera this afternoon, which should be a lot of fun. I've never done a quinceanera before, so it'll be exciting. And that's also a Catholic mass followed by a party. So I'm learning all sorts of things because I obviously Christian, not Catholic, very Protestant, and so it's just a whole different world, right? So I find it quite educational, actually, to be doing these things. But the wedding shoot was great. Still have a lot of editing to do, um, and that's the time consuming part is culling all the photos and then deciding, okay, what sort of vibe do I want to go with, what kind of colors, and their wedding, their colors were like white and like a minty green, so I'm trying to make sure that that shows, and this, that, and the other thing. But it was fun, and I'd do it again if someone wants to pay me.
So it sounds like you had a good time. You didn't lose all your photos. I'm taking
No, gosh, no, 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 no. And so one of my goal this year was to make enough money to buy a Canon C70, which is a cinema camera, but it's like $5,500.
Hmm.
And one of the benefits of having an official, like, business with the state, I have an LLC, is that if you spend your income on business expenses, you don't have to pay income tax on it. So I was like, if I can just make $5,500 this year, I can spend all of it on this really nice cinema camera and not pay income tax. Great. Done deal, invest in the business. Well, I didn't make that much
Yeah.
by a long shot. I made like 3 grand, an enormous amount of which was this wedding, right?
Hmm.
And so I was like, well, I really don't want to lose half of that on income taxes because I'm self-employed, right? So it's high. Uh, it's not half. It's like I think it's like 30 or 35% or something like that. But still, like it's like $1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do a lot with $1,000. So I decided to get, and she actually paid me like 2 weeks before the wedding. She's like, "Hey, can I just pay you now?" I was like, "Sure." Like, and then I was like, and then that whole 2 weeks, I was like, "Don't get COVID, don't get COVID. Like, you have to be at this wedding. You have to, like, you cannot miss this."
Yep.
And so, like, the 2 or 3 days before the wedding, I was like, I was pretty anxious because Kennedy, my daughter, had gotten the flu and then was like throwing up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, I spent the last 3 days with her. Like, I cannot get sick. Like, I just can't, and I didn't, thankfully. Um, I think it's just, it's her first year in school. She's in kindergarten, and all these kids have been taking baths and hand sanitizer for the last 3 years because of COVID and everything. It's like, so I just think their immune systems aren't nearly what they would have been if they had gone to kindergarten in 2019 instead of now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're all playing catch up with all of that. But anyways, so I decided to buy a second camera body, not the C70. I got the Canon R6, which does better video than my other camera. Better, dynamic range, all sorts of stuff. And so it was my first shoot using two cameras, which, Mitch, I will never go to a photo shoot without two camera bodies ever again. Because I don't have to switch lenses on one camera. I have one camera with a telephoto lens, one camera with a 35 millimeter. And so instead of having to like stop, change the lens, then take the picture, I can literally just, and I have a shoulder harness that holds both of them. I can just telephoto, wide angle, without even in it. So I don't miss the moment, right? I can just switch the camera in a second, 2 seconds tops, and it was a game changer for sure. So while I wasn't able to get the camera that I really, really wanted, I still made enough to not have to pay income taxes on like 98% of what my business made this year, which is nice. And I got a second body, and it made the wedding shoot so much more fun and so much less stressful because it's a wedding. If you miss the shot, you miss the shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't ask them to go cut the cake again, or do your first dance again, or the groom's first look at the bride as she comes down. Like, you have to hit every shot, So anyways, that's a long-winded answer to, it was a ton of fun, and I got all the shots, and the bride and groom were lovely folks. So
yeah, I didn't hear anything from you, so I figured it went well. So
yeah.
So I was waiting for that text. Oh crap. You'll never guess.
Yeah, no, it was all good. Everyone had a good time. So
did you get a chance to go back and listen to our last episode?
Not yet. I'll be honest, I haven't really been listening to many podcasts lately.
Yeah.
And I feel like a bad podcaster for not listening to podcasts, but I'm just, for whatever reason, I gotten kind of out of sync with it. But is this you telling me that I should go back? Is there some
here's the thing. I felt like last episode was very much like a shotgun. Like we turned on the recording and just just went. And so then I went back to listen to it because I couldn't remember half the episode because it just went by so quickly. And so I cracked myself up like pretty hard. I was listening at work, and I'm standing there with my Bone Conduction headphones on, listening to the podcast, and there wasn't really anybody around for most of it, but if there was, and I started laughing, people were just looking at me like I was insane. It was pretty good. But yeah, it's one of those episodes that I think if like it could be really polarizing, because it was either like you just love the insanity of the episode, or you're just like, these guys are a bunch of kooks. I can't listen to this again, so, but hopefully this morning will be much more structured. And I will tell the audience, I did zero editing to the last podcast, because it was one of those that almost benefited from the chaos of the episode. So I just let it be what it was, and made that artistic choice, but we'll edit a little bit more. I did also notice I have a real problem with ahs and ums during the episode, and stuttering and stammering a little bit. And a lot of times when I go back and edit that stuff, I notice it way more because I'm editing it all out. And the last episode, I think because of the pace of the show and how much fun we were having, there was way less of that. So I thought, throwing it out there as an unedited episode didn't hurt anything, because it didn't make either one of us sound like, bad in any way. So, so this morning I'm trying to pay a little bit more attention, so to save on editing as well, not to try and do filler. But I think it comes a lot from, I grew up in a home where if you didn't do that, you lost your opportunity to talk because someone else would jump in on you. And so if you were using filler words and trying to, keep talking, you were blocking them from interrupting you.
So you had to filibuster is what you're saying.
I'm filibustering a little bit. Yeah. So when I tend to do that normally, and so like that. And so I do that a lot because I'm trying to keep, this mysterious person from jumping in on me, but whatever, I'll work on it.
Mitch is like, I see interrupting people.
Well, when I worked in radio, I had kind of defeated this for the most part because a lot of what I did I read. So when you read stuff, it's not, the ahs and ums are not in the copy. So you don't, that's not what you read. And most of the time I was on the air by myself, so I knew nobody was going to interrupt me. So it was a lot easier not to be like that. But then when you get somebody else in the mix, it becomes a little bit more difficult to, like, you feel like you can't control it as well. Even though you're really good at giving me time to talk, I still feel, stop that. I still feel like I have to use filler words to try and keep you from interrupting me. So it's just a thing. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. Well,
but
I'll take it because it usually is me. So,
and I think the latency on Zoom has gotten a lot better too, so that we're not talking over each other as much either. So that helps a lot.
Very good. Can we talk about it now? Can we?
You don't want me to keep filling so that we don't get to it?
I mean, it's just, you're in charge. So.
All right, hold on. So our main topic today, we talked about what was delighting us before we did the episode, and I have a whole thing I want to talk about in that segment, but we were waffling as to whether or not to make this the main thrust of the show today, or to save it for the delights segment. And Cam said, "Why can't we do both?" So we're going to do both.
So, we're going to talk about the new Taylor Swift album that's coming out.
So 2 nights ago, on Thursday night, right after the football game was done on Amazon Prime, the season finale of Rings of Power dropped.
They dropped it Thursday night? Those cheaters?
Night, right after the football game.
Oh, man. I watched it last night. So,
So I did as well. And Cam is super excited about this, and I thought it was a really good episode as well. So we're going to talk about Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, the series on Amazon Prime. So first off, what did you think?
Well, first of all, if you just major spoiler warning, if you haven't watched it and you plan to,
pause the audio right now.
Just delete this episode and come back later, because
we will ruin the show for you if you don't.
Yes. So that being said, if we ruin it for you now, it's on you. Okay. So before we get into the episode, last time we talked, we were trying to figure out about the show. Last time we talked about the show, we were trying to figure out who the stranger was. And you and your wife had theories, right? Radagast, Gandalf. You thought Sauron.
Sauron was a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've always thought it was Gandalf, and I've ridden that journey of yes, it is. No, it's not. No, it's not. And then last night I was like, yeah,
dude,
I literally was like,
they totally head faked it too.
Huh?
They totally head faked you too.
Oh yeah. So they start the episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's before they even get to the opening titles, credits, right? This the opening score.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those three creepy, like evil witch ladies
Mm-hmm.
that finally catch up to him. And they're like, "We are here to serve you, Lord Sauron." And then they go right to the titles. And immediately I was like, nope, no way they're starting the episode with that reveal. Absolutely not. I was like, there's no way. There's no way they would start the episode if that's actually the case.
I found
So I was.
I
What?
found myself looking at that going, okay, maybe they've got more to reveal. But at the same time, like, I'm not sure that I'm totally, like, I kind of was thinking that he could be Sauron
Mhm.
from some of the hints that they'd given. We talked about Saruman being a possibility. You know,
Mhm.
he was obviously one of the wizards or possibly Sauron,
Well, I
but
mean, Sauron is the same class of person as Saruman and
mhm.
Gandalf and Radagast, right?
They're basically, I think they are categorized as wizards, are they not? Am I wrong about that?
Well, that's what the humans call them. I forget what like what their name in like the hierarchy of beings is.
Mhm.
It's I'm reading through some of that stuff. But I think there's 9 or 13, I can't remember. So people that are listening right now, we like Lord of the Rings. We are not experts. So
This is correct. Yep.
the fact that we don't know the number or the name of the type of person that they are.
I will just say, for
Okay.
me, everything I know about the Lord of the Rings, I've gotten from the movies and from whatever my wife has told me about it, because my wife has read a lot of the books, and I used to.
Yeah.
We had a tradition every year. I bought her a new Lord of the Rings book for our anniversary. So that went on the way. It went to the wayside at one point, but it's like every anniversary I bought her a new book that was in that series. So she's read a lot of the supplemental material on that
Mhm.
Tolkien's written.
Yeah. So anyway, so they start the episode, right? Lord Sauron. Um, and so there had been theories that I'd seen that Halbrand could also be Sauron, which is interesting because Halbrand is not in any of Tolkien's literature. He's an original character to this show,
Mm-hmm.
just like Arondir, the elf that helps the Southlanders defeat or try to defeat Adar. Anyways, he's a created character for this show. And I was like, man, that's really interesting because the more like you watch him and listen to him, he speaks a lot in vague half truths that could mean 2 or 3 very different things depending on if he's a good guy or a bad guy, right? Or the bad guy. And so when they started the show and they were like the creepy witches told the stranger that he was Lord Sauron, I was like, oh my god, it's Halbrand. I was like, oh, because I was like, there's no way they're gonna start this. And so I immediately was like, I'm listening to everything that comes out of that guy's mouth the rest of this because it's a finale.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think that they were gonna reveal. I just thought they were gonna like heavily like tip their cap, but like they did with the stranger at the end of the episode.
Right.
They didn't say he's Gandalf, but they ended the episode with him leaving with Nori, the Harfoot, which is the Hobbit's ancestor, right? And he talks about, so there's a point in Lord of the Rings where they're in the mines of Moria and they're sitting there trying to figure out which way they need to go. And Gandalf uses his nose. He goes, oh, we're going to need to go this way. Why? Oh, because the air is less foul this way. And he talks to Frodo about, you know, and so that whole like, oh, the air is sweeter this way.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my, like
Yeah.
they didn't tell us his name, but they told us exactly who he is without, and so I thought they would do something like that with Halbrand, and boy, they didn't.
Yeah.
He's Sauron in every like. So anyway, I just
what
the
I
way
did
that they handled it was so good.
What they did that I did appreciate was how he exposes himself as Sauron to Galadriel, and then proceeds to defend his viewpoint to make it sound like, no, I'm trying to help. You don't understand.
Dude, he was gaslighting her hard.
I'm trying to help this. I'm trying to bring peace.
Mhm.
And, you know, and there's a part of me that thinks he believes that too, because, you know, taking this into the realm of Star Wars for a moment, when you look at the Empire is so much about, like, we're bringing peace to the galaxy. It might be under oppressive rule, but we're bringing peace to the galaxy. Look at all the good things that we've done. You know, when you look at some of the new series, I'm watching through the Mandalorian again, the first two seasons, and whenever you hear anything from the Empire, there's a couple of scenes where they talk about, well, look at what the Republic's done. The galaxy is in chaos. Like, they haven't done anything. Like, we at least had rule and had order and had brought peace to the galaxy. Now you have, you know, all these warlords that are controlling things and all this oppression on these different planets and all this bad stuff. That I think when you talk about Sauron and you talk about the character of Halbrand in the episode, and as he's revealing this, you kind of wonder if he doesn't believe that. So
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, crazy people be crazy, Mitch.
yeah. Well, you know,
it's like Thanos too, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're just gonna get rid of half the, like, we're just gonna make life, you know, and like, yeah, they really do believe that. And man, what sort of headspace do you have to be in to think that oppression, like, because like the Empire, right, can list all the good things that they've done, but they also blew up Alderaan. They also destroyed the Jedi Temple. You know, have wiped out all sort. Like, it's just, you know, yeah, you've done a few good things, but you've also committed genocide. So, like, you know,
but like any, you know, we can even take this into, you know, reality here, into the world. Any like terrorist thinks that they're fighting for freedom.
Yep.
They Merlin is really popular. Merlin Mann is popular for saying, using the term or using the phrase, everybody has their reasons. You know, that there's nobody that does this stuff that just does it because they're evil. You know, they may be misguided. They may be doing, you know, something stupid, but they have the reason for doing it. So,
well, I think some people are just crazy, but I would say the overwhelming majority of people have reasons, but I think some people are just bonkers. But anyways, yeah. So back to the show.
Yeah.
But I think that's what part of what makes this so good is they have humanized the bad guy. Like, we just had a 5-minute discussion about the psychology of why he, you know what I mean? Like, they have succeeded in humanizing the bad guy that we've spent the whole season trying to decide, is he good? Is he bad? Do we like him? Do we not? You know what I mean? So like, they did such a good job of making him real that now that it's been revealed that he is the true bad guy, it means so much more. Because in Lord of the Rings, he's just this eye on a tower, right? Yeah. And in the flashbacks, he's just this big guy with a giant helmet on. Which, did you catch in the scene where they showed the shadows when he's at first and he's got the pointy helmet on? I was like, they don't miss anything. It's so good. The other thing that I caught that I thought was brilliant was when they melt Galadriel's dagger that was her brother's.
Yeah.
And there's that molten bowl, or the bowl full of the molten metal, and he holds the mithril and he drops it in. It turns into Sauron's eye.
Yeah.
I was like, it's so good. Yeah. Like, it's there for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then it melts away. But it's literally it even has like it becomes the you know, the black part of the eye, and it turns into Sauron's eye for a few seconds. And I was like, this is so good.
Yeah.
Just, I love when shows do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's great.
So now I'm going to go back and rewatch the whole thing, because I guarantee you. Oh, so I know one Easter egg that I found. And then we can get back to talking the episode, but the very beginning of the first episode, you know, when Galadriel and her troop are up in Forod Waith, the frozen castle, and they find, you know, the sigil on the, like the stone table. And at this point, they don't know what the sigil means. When they cut from that scene, they do that map transition. the map part that they show is Mordor.
Yeah.
So like they're telling you from the very first cutscene exactly what that means, and you just won't know it until like episode 4, right?
Yeah, I picked it up in episode, if it was in episode 4. Like it wasn't right at the beginning that I caught it, but I did catch it at one point, and became very obvious what it was.
Yeah, I didn't catch it the first time, but like I went back and watched the first episode after like episode like 5 or 6. And I was like, oh my gosh, they tell you from the very beginning exactly what that means. And so I guarantee you there's going to be other things, especially with stuff that Halbrand says that it's going to, mean so much more now.
Yeah, this is gonna warrant a rewatch.
So the other thing that I really enjoyed is now I understand why in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, Gandalf has such a high view of the hobbits and what they're really capable of because of what the relationship that he's going to be building with Nori the rest of the series, right? Like they're the ones that saved him. Nori's the one that got him to stand up against the witches and to embrace his goodness, right? And so like I can now start to see how and why Gandalf, unlike anybody else on the planet, has a special place in his heart and an understanding of the Harfoots and the hobbits, which they become, right? And so I just thought that was a really, really clever way to have his origin story start, right? Because it makes it totally projects towards how he handles Bilbo and Frodo and the hobbits, in the other books and movies. So very, very clever. I liked it.
Yeah. It's been a fun series to watch. I'm sad it's over, but it's going to be good for a rewatch.
So the other thing I read is that when they got the rights to do this, they had to do 5 series or 5 seasons, like guaranteed. And that the writers of the show already know what the last scene of the last episode of the last season is going to be. So like this is like they've already gamed this out to the very end, which he's like, there's going to be things from season 1 that don't get paid off until the last season 5, which I'm just like, oh, this is like, I love it. I love when shows do that sort of stuff. But the other thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, Mitch, is Galadriel doesn't tell Celebrimbor or Elrond that Halbrand is Sauron at all. While they're making the rings, right? She comes back, where's Halbrand? Oh, he's gone. And they just like, so she knows that he's the baddie and that this was his idea to make these or to help get them made. And she says nothing.
Am I wrong to believe, because one thing that's been sticking in my head the whole season to this point is that when you see her in the movies, in the Lord of the Rings movies, she's been cast out. Like she's got her own sect of elves. She's considered to be evil, or has an evil aspect to her. Like these are not good elves that she's leading. And so
that's where Legolas came from, right?
Yeah, but as you're looking at this, there's obviously like she's split off from the main group of elves in Rivendell. And so I keep thinking like, what's leading to that? And where, because she disobeys them, jumps out of the boat, goes back and ends up in Numenor. She's pretty much treated like a scourge wherever she goes, until she really gets back with the elves. And even then, I'm not totally convinced that they've welcomed her back in. And now she, Sauron is trying to bring her in as his queen, and that's not by accident. So the fact that is happening leads me to believe that the two of them end up connecting, and she ends up being bewitched by him. to follow him, and then there's some kind of falling out or something that happens later on. It's just a theory, but I think that she ends up in league with him, at least for a while.
I don't know.
I know it's hard, but I think she buys his reasoning and his I'm trying to bring peace, and she's already rather disenfranchised by it so much that I think she falls for it.
Well, there's one way to find out.
Yep.
Read the books. Yeah, because I don't know. I'm gonna take the other side of that one and say no, and we'll find out.
Okay.
They'll find out, because who knows what the show's gonna do, right? Because the other thing I read is they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion, but they have the rights to everything else, which is interesting. I don't know why they would get the rights to everything but that. So yeah. Anyways,
and yet it doesn't seem like they're referencing stuff from the Silmarillion. In my belief.
Yeah, but there's also there's like the Lost Tales and the Lays of Beleriand and like all of that other stuff that goes into it. So J.R.R. Tolkien's son Christopher did like a 8 or 9 book series on the history of Middle Earth, where he took stuff that his dad had sort of pieced out and like wasn't complete and put it all together, and that sort of stuff. So I think there's a lot of that they're pulling from too. But yeah, we'll see. Because Elrond still believes in Galadriel, right? And Elrond winds up marrying Galadriel's daughter, by the way. So Galadriel is Arwen's grandma, if you want to connect all the dots. But Elrond's half human, half elf, but still gets to enjoy the immortality of the elven side, even though he's, half. So anyways, yeah, just really, really good. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff from the episode that we missed here, but I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Again, it's going to require a rewatch, I think, to really see the brilliance of the show.
Well, and it's pretty, like it's
oh my gosh,
it's stunning, right? The video, the cinematography, the locations, the grandiosity of like Numenor, it's just like, and the different elven places. Khazad-dûm is crazy, because we only see it in the Lord of the Rings movies as the orc-ridden Moria that's dead, right? So seeing it alive is, it's just, man. Yeah. So like you won't have to twist my arm to rewatch this one.
Yeah, the budget that they had on this show, it was paid off when you get that first shot of Numenor and you see the statues and it's gorgeous. Definitely
$250 million.
So we got another season finale this last week. I don't have much to say about it, but it was interesting. Have you watched any of the She-Hulk?
No.
That was quite entertaining.
Was it?
Yeah, it had a little bit of a Deadpool vibe, actually. There's a lot of breaking of the fourth wall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it was really good because there's scenes where and I love what's her name? Oh, why is her name not coming to me? She was an Orphan Black.
Was it Natasha Lyonne or something like that?
Oh, no, I'm gonna have to look it up. But I love her acting. She's just a lot of fun. And just about every episode, she stops and she looks at the camera and she makes some kind of comment. Or in the finale, there's a whole section of the finale that just totally goes off the rails. And it's such a fun, like, irreverent show that it's a lot of fun. I like it.
Her name is Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah, that's it.
I was thinking of somebody else. See, I haven't even.
She is amazing in Orphan Black. She plays herself in like so many different, because she's a clone in that show. And so she
Okay.
plays herself in so many different like personalities and such that, and every one of them is so convincing. If you haven't watched Orphan Black, I recommend it. It's a little bit edgy, but it's good. So another show that's come out recently that we talked real briefly about before the show is Andor.
I like it.
It's a good show. It's really slow. It's and I think
See, I disagree.
you think? I mean, there's no point.
Book of Boba Fett was slow to me. I actually like this one because I mean he's they've already told a few stories with him through 6 episodes, right? You've gotten his backstory, you've gotten him trying to find his sister, he kills the guys on Ferrix, then they come find him at his home planet where he's staying, and then you find out that's not his real mom and how she found him, and now he's with this ragtag group of rebels, and there's this other storyline with Stellan Skarsgård's guy who's funding the rebellion with Mon Mothma, who is in a loveless marriage. Like, there's just, I think there's so many more moving parts to this one for me than. Now, it's not a fast-paced show by any means, but compared to like Boba Fett, where he cosplays as a Tusken Raider for what feels like 12 episodes, even though I think it's only 1.5, that show to me was so, I couldn't even finish it. Like, I got like 4 or 5 episodes in, I was like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. So you missed the whole Mandalorian season 2.5.
Oh, well, then maybe there's a reason to go back and watch it.
Because it switched over to really what seemed like supplemental material for the Mandalorian after that.
Yeah, I totally missed all that. I couldn't get to it because the first half of the season was so boring.
Yeah. That show, what I'll say about Book of Boba Fett is I think it did what it needed to do. It answered questions about like how did Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc pit? First off, why is he suddenly like different? You know, he's was a bounty hunter for all this time, and all of a sudden now he's like, well, you know what? I want to settle down on Tatooine and be a warlord. You know, why suddenly did he change? Like, he was never a guy that settled anywhere. And now all of a sudden he's just, you know, I think I'll hang out here and take over Jabba's palace and, you know, try to do good. Why?
Well, but none of those questions had to be answered though, because when Star Wars ended, he was in the Sarlacc pit and dead. Like, the only reason that he got brought back was because fans wanted him.
He's a super popular character, yeah.
Right? You know, so like there are questions that didn't need to be answered because they're self-fulfilling in the sense that. But if they wanted to bring Boba Fett back, so they made up a story for how that happened.
Yeah, but if they wanted to bring Boba Fett back, they had to explain it.
Right, exactly. But to me, it's like pro wrestling, right? We're telling the story that we want to tell because we want to tell it, and we want to bring this character back. Like, you know, oh, you lost the buried alive match, and 3 weeks later, you're all of a sudden alive again. Like, how do we make that work? You know, it's a bit like that in my mind, but.
No, I think the big thing that I appreciated about, and I've tried to take a different approach to the Book of Boba Fett. This is like supplemental material for the Mandalorian. If you approach it like that, it almost makes a little bit more sense, because about halfway through the season, all of a sudden we're like, I think there's an episode or two where you don't even see Boba Fett. It's just all about what's going on with the Mandalorian, with Din Djarin. And then it comes back and the two storylines converge. So it's just interesting that, I mean, the last episode of the Book of Boba Fett was a halfway decent payoff, especially when you have
really selling it, Mitch.
I know, right? Especially when you have the reintroduction of a very popular villain character in the like the Clone Wars and Rebels. You have this character, and I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to ruin it for you if you haven't seen it yet. But you have this reintroduction of this character that it really does kind of make the whole thing worth it. It's good.
So do you know if there's going to be a second season of Boba Fett, or are they just going to roll all that into the third season of Mandalorian?
I haven't heard one way or the other if they're gonna. To me, I think the story is self-contained enough that, they probably could have done half the season and then rolled the rest of this into. There is ways that they could have done this differently to make it make more sense, but they did it the way they did it, and so now it sets it up nice to go into the Mandalorian season 3. But I think the problem is that if you go into season 3 without seeing the Book of Boba Fett, there's things that aren't going to make sense.
Yeah.
So, and I'm doing my best not to get into any specifics, but they're just things that aren't going to make sense.
Gotcha.
So,
all right, well, I'll finish it.
Anyways, it's only like 8 episodes. So if you're 4 episodes in, you only got four episodes left. So,
but back to Andor, right?
Yeah,
because that's the new hotness, as it were, in the Star Wars universe. What are you? So you think it's a little slow, but what are your main takeaways from it?
Well, I think number one, we're getting backstory. Where did he come from? Why does he have the angst? And he's this troubled guy. Has been in prison. He's almost the kind of like Han Solo archetype, but different. Where Han Solo, I don't think really had a rough upbringing. He was on Corellia and was essentially a slave on Corellia that escaped. But Andor is a little different in the sense that he just had a rough childhood because he saw the Empire basically wipe out his people. And
back to that whole genocide thing, right?
Yeah. And so he's a product of that. But instead of like, he hates the Empire, but he doesn't feel like he can do anything about it. And so really what the season is about is trying to convince him, yes, you can do something about it. And you have skills. And this is something that Stellan Skarsgård's character brings out in him, or is trying to convince him of. You have skills that you can use to take out the Empire and help with the rebellion. And so I think that's a lot of what we're seeing in this series. And so I'm looking forward. I think this is really building towards something that is going to be a really cool like season finale for the show. But they have to lay the groundwork. They have to show his skills. They have to show his worth. Through like this last week's episode was the siege on where they stole they stole a bunch of the payroll
credits.
Yeah. And so this was like an opportunity for him to show the skills. And on top of that, the eye that they kept talking about, basically it was a really pretty meteor shower. And just that was a really beautiful effect, I was looking forward to seeing how they were going to show that. And it turned out really cool.
Yeah. So what I find interesting is in recent years, there's been this new structure for shows where there are 8 episodes and episode 6 is the climax of the season. And then 7 is the fallout. Then 8 is the finale that ties up some storylines and sends off a few more for season 2 and leaves you, and so it's become this formula, right? And so it's the same in Andor as it is in Rings of Power. Episode 6 was when Mordor, they blow up Mount Doom, right? And all of that. And so 7 is the fallout, and then 8 is the finale where they tell you who Gandalf and Sauron are, right? So episode 6 in Andor is when they finally attack that base, and that's the climax of the season. So we're going to see, I think, 2 more episodes, right? And then, so I don't think we're going to have to wait very long to get to that season finale. But I think you're right that there's going to be a pretty good payoff with it. So it'll be interesting to see, because where we left it in episode 6, right? He takes his cut and then takes off, right? And so we don't know what's next for him because he's a loner, right? He's still being hunted by the creepy guy from the private security firm whose mom is the worst, by the way.
Mhm.
No wonder he turned out so screwed up. His mom is new definition on helicopter mom.
Yeah.
Um,
Andor's
so
going
anyways,
to be 12 episodes long. I just wanted to look that up.
oh, there's going to be 12.
Mhm.
So maybe we get another. So maybe this was the first, like this was the fall summit, right?
Yeah.
The big episode. And there's going to be probably episode 9 or 10. We get another big moment. Well, that's good. I was kind of bummed if it was just going to be 8.
Yeah, there's another story to tell here. I think they're treating it like the mid-season finale, and then there's another story to tell here before they ramp up to the end.
That's good. That makes me excited because 8 episode seasons are too short. But
Agreed.
if you look at pretty much any 8 episode season, episode 6 is generally the high point as far as like action or, you know, drama or what have you. But 12 episodes, I'm down with, because that means we're only halfway.
Right.
Fabulous.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, some exciting stuff on TV right now. You watching anything else that gets you excited?
I mean, sports, but
well, I know that you like The Rookie, and The Rookie's back.
I haven't watched The Rookie in 2 seasons, I don't think.
Okay.
I've kind of gotten over the Monster of the Week shows. You know, where like there's always a bad guy that you have to, or a problem like each episode, procedurals or whatever. I don't know. I just like, because honestly, like, I know we just spent 45 minutes talking about TV shows that we like. Most of my TV time is sports, Formula One, soccer, college football, right? And then I've got Rings of Power and Andor. That's 2 episodes a week. Other than that, like, I don't have Netflix, I don't have HBO, like none of that. So I just, yeah, especially in the fall, right? College football, soccer, World Cup's coming up, college basketball and the NBA start real soon. So like, I don't want to spend all my time watching TV. And so I prioritize sports over the actual shows, except for a handful, you know. But what about you?
I have, so my DVR is filled with stuff right now. a lot of which I haven't really dived into. Dove into. Yeah. But I kind of have a couple of different categories that I work in. Like, I'll have my shows that my wife and I watch together that are like the main shows that we watch. So Andor falls into that. Rings of Power was in there. We watch She-Hulk together. A lot of the stuff that we watch on streaming a lot is like that. We also enjoy The Rookie. So we watch those episodes together. There's a real small subgroup of shows that I watch on my own, and those are typically like going back and watching through The Mandalorian. I've been doing that on my own. History Channel stuff. You know, I have a few series that I enjoy on the History Channel, and then there's kind of like this subgroup of shows that it's like, you know, if I just need something on and I'm working on something else, I'll turn that on. You know, I've got a lot of stuff on the DVR like that, you know, HGTV shows, different home renovation shows, stuff like that. I enjoy. So, yeah. And we've talked about, the Unexplained with William Shatner, before. I do enjoy that show. I haven't watched it in a while, and I've got a back catalog of stuff on my DVR right now. If I decide I want to go back and watch some more, but
good old Billy Shatner.
Yeah. And like I've said before, he's the worst part of that show. So, and to be honest with you, it's bad, but it's not that bad. So, but yeah, so nothing. Oh, I should say, Lego Masters is back, and I enjoy that show. So
that's Will Arnett hosts that one, right?
And when BattleBots is on, I'm into the nerd shows. I like good nerd shows.
BattleBots. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that show. Holy cow,
Yeah,
that's still on.
They just had a big tournament here recently that they aired. I have it set up so that whenever there's anything BattleBots on TV, I have a TiVo, so I have some things that I can do there that it just shows up. So it just pops into the DVR and it's like, oh, there's more BattleBots to watch. Cool.
That's funny.
Curse of Oak Island comes back next month, and I love that show. That's good.
Is that one on the History Channel?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Over the summer, the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch was on. I enjoy that.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. That sounds terrifying.
So that show, there's a lot of historical significance to that show, as far as how the Navajo and the forgetting the other tribe. It's the tribe that actually lives in that area, and then they cursed this land because the Navajo tried to take it from them. And essentially, the Skinwalkers are supposedly these evil beings that protect the land and are part of the curse. They're shape-shifting, like demonic creatures. Although that's not what really that's not really what the show's about. It has a slight part of it, but it's not really what the show's about. So it's interesting. But yeah. So that's what's delighting you today, huh?
Yeah. What's
Rings of Power.
Yes, Rings of Power.
It was good.
Anyways,
it was enjoyable. I did enjoy that.
Well, so what's interesting, and then we can happily move on to what's delighting you, is so we know for a fact that the elves had 3 rings. So we've now seen those 3 rings, but the dwarves got 7 for some reason, and the men got 9. So there are still 16 rings that have yet to be made, and also the 1 ring so there's 17 other rings that need to be made over the course of what I'm assuming we're going to get all of them over the course of the 5 seasons. It's a big assumption. I don't know. And hopefully we get the question answered why the dwarves got 7 and the men got 9 and their elves only, like, I don't know, who knows? But I would like to know the reason behind why they got more. Considering the elves tend to think they're better than everybody else.
Well, if you do the math, there's 20. I don't know if there's any significance to that, but there's 20 rings.
Yeah.
So the one ring, the 9 rings of men, the 7 rings of the dwarves, and the 3 of and I wonder if that has something to do with the breakdown of population in Middle Earth. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, just curious about that. But Mitch, hit that bass, my man.
Ooh. Well, what's delighting me today?
Yes.
All right. Well, we've talked about Logos on the show before, the Bible software. Monday was Bible software Christmas. They launched Logos 10 this last week.
And does it cost an arm and a leg?
I was able to upgrade for free. But that was because I upgraded to 9 recently. And it really didn't cost me that much. But I put it on a payment plan, so I'm paying it off a little bit at a time here. But so this was free for me to upgrade into the bronze package because I usually don't go into a high package. But they have done some stuff. Am I going to say this is like a groundbreaking update? I don't know that I would say that necessarily, but there's some really cool features that they're adding to Logos and in Logos 10, which, by the way, drives me crazy. They call it Logos. And I've called it Logos for so long that I just can't not say it. So if you're going to judge me for that, I'm good with that. So, but there's a couple of things that they've done here that I think are really, really good for Logos users. There's a ton of features. So if we go, I'm on the Logos page, which I will show I'll throw this into show notes. So if you, as the listener, want to jump in here and check this out, I will throw that into the show notes for you. But some of the stuff, I think they put a little bit more work into the mobile experience, which is really cool, but I'll kind of get to that in a second. They did a redesign of Logos. Not a total redesign, but what they did is they moved the everything that was in the top bar is now in the sidebar, and you can go back, you can change it back if you don't like it that way. But their idea was they wanted to bring the scripture front and center. They wanted to make the content put that in the foreground instead of having all of this crap up at the top that was distracting from the content. So they've minimized a lot of the menus and such to make room for the content. They've restructured a little bit how some of the stuff works, and there's so much here that I'm not going to cover it all, but they have a layout feature that is in the desktop version and has been in the desktop version for a long time. They brought that to mobile. So now you can set up custom layouts and switch between those layouts if you choose. And it's a lot more fluid. This is also they're saying that this is a lightning fast update. They've spent a lot of time working under the hood to speed up Logos, because especially in your search features and stuff like that, it wasn't super fast before. They're saying that it's way faster now, and you can get more done in less time. It's actually the first version to be native on Apple Silicon, so it should run much better. It doesn't require Rosetta to run, so should be much smoother. Nice.
It's so expensive, Mitch.
There's some stuff that is, yeah. Look at this. If you look at the starter pack, it's good. It's a couple $100 probably. I'm not even sure because I can't see prices that aren't.
The starter pack right now is $250.74.
Yeah,
but it's 15% off.
Yeah, well, you get a ton of books, all the features. Or not all the features, but a lot of the baseline features that they offer with it. Some of the updates that they're doing is an update to the books. And I don't know what this is going to mean right now. What they say on the webpage for these new Logos edition books is books aren't just included in Logos, they're fused into the platform itself. Logos retrieves information like topics and theological ideas from the digital library and delivers them straight to you, so you never waste time flipping through pages. So, I don't think that that's super new, but because I've been able to search the books for a while now. There's
something a little bit further down the page that
I think you're talking about the next thing I was going to talk about.
Okay.
The searching your print books.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a really cool new feature in Logos 10 that you go through and there's a QR code that you scan in the desktop version of Logos with your phone, and it then connects that to your library, and you go through and scan the ISBN for each of the books that are in your library to add those to Logos. And now when you go and you search for a topic, as long as those books are represented in some way, shape, or form in Logos, they know what page number things are on. They know all the information about those books. So now when you go and search, it'll actually show you what's in your print library as well, and tell you what page and everything the information is on. So you just go over to your library, you grab the book off the shelf, you go to that page, and now you can read through whatever pertains to the subject that you're researching.
Yeah, that might be worth the price of entry right there. That's super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
The question I want to know is, can I see a list of books? Because it says Print resources must currently be available as a Logos edition. I want to find a list of all of the books that are currently Logos editions and compare that to my library. Because if it's 5, no, thank you. If it's 75, done.
Yeah. Well, what I would do, you can like maybe pick a handful of them that you wanna make sure you have in there, and then search the library. And you can do that from the search bar at the top on the Logos website. So,
Oh, okay. Good to know.
because you can buy the books from there. So what I generally do when I update my Logos is I just update the feature pack because I don't need all the books. I don't use a lot of the books, so I can just update to whatever the feature pack is for that update, and then
Mhm.
I'll buy the books as I need them. So, not all of them because some of them do get expensive, but they'll tell you, oh well, if you buy the pack with the books and the features and everything, this is the value of it. Well, the problem is that you'll get let's let's say, and it's a lot more than this, but let's say you get 10 books and you use 2 of them. Well, those 2 probably were cheaper than what you paid for the 10 in the pack. So what I tend to do is just get the ones that I need because I don't need the I don't need the catechisms, and I don't need a lot of the Catholic material. I don't need a lot of, certain authors that I don't necessarily agree doctrinally with. I don't need all this extra stuff. What I do need is I want good resources for searching Greek and Hebrew. I
Mhm.
want good resources for I want a couple of good commentaries so that I can look into it, maybe a couple of good handbooks, some good dictionaries. I have looked into some of the systematic theologies that have been recommended to me as far as what the cost is and what I would need to pay for those. But beyond that, like I don't need this huge library that they offer. So I'll go update to the next, up to a feature pack as opposed to updating to like the bronze package or the silver package or the gold package, because that's where your money savings tend to be. It's still pricey. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. It's still going to be expensive, but cutting out the books helps in bringing that cost down a bit. So I think you do have to look too that not all the new features are going to be in the lower packages. So if there's a particular feature that you're looking to update to, you want to make sure that it's in that you're getting that feature in that package. So you have to do a little research as you're looking at this. So they added a whole section on popular quotes. So now you can search quotes. So if you're putting together a sermon or something like that, and you need a quote for something, you can actually go in and search quotes and go through and scroll through them and grab one that fits. They have the example here of searching wisdom, and they found an A.W. Tozer quote that they put into their sermon. They've added a whole bunch of stuff on church history uh, in this update. They enhanced timelines, which is something that I find really intriguing. And for the first time, you can look at their timelines on the iPad version of Logos. So I was flipping through that the other day and found that to be really cool. So I enjoy the timelines because you can look at a particular biblical event and
Mhm.
expand yourself out to see what the context of that event is. So, maybe you're looking at something, during the Pauline era, and you're looking to see like what other world events around that could be informing what's happening in say Ephesians. So you can dig into it a little bit more like that. So the
Mhm.
timeline stuff is actually really cool. It can be really overwhelming because when you first look at it, there is a ton of stuff. If you don't filter it out, there's a ton of stuff that is going to be in there. So you gotta watch and kind of filter that out to get what you need. But a lot of the stuff takes a little bit of massaging and time to kind of work with it to get it. But oh, let's see. They've enhanced the search to be better. Uh, they just say search reimagined, find anything instantly, and that is something that has been kind of a weakness in the past is searching for things. So they've made that a lot easier. They now have what they call advanced search simplified, which before what you had to do is you had to type in a string of like really complicated syntax to get what you wanted. Now you can go in and just select a category and say, hey, I want to compare this thing with this thing. And then it'll give you a little pop-up to kind of help you find what you're looking for instead of having to type in a lot of complicated syntax. So on the bottom of this page is a video that is an up close look. What they say on the page here is an up close look at the latest additions to Logos. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the live stream that they did for the announcement, and that is also available on YouTube. So I'm going to put the video from YouTube in the show notes as well, so you can take a look at that if you want. But they went through a lot of these features to show how they work and how they're improving Logos Bible software. So yeah, this is really delighting me because I use this really heavily for my study, and I actually love it quite a bit. Now on the mobile version, they say in the video that they notice that a lot of people use their iPads for doing study. So let me actually get to the Bible here. So when you pull up the Bible, they reworked the menu system for the for your reading, so you can read a little bit easier. But now, if you want to get into a lot of the extra features in this, there's a little hamburger menu down in the corner, and there's a whole list. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a whole list of things that you can do with your text. And they have a couple of features I didn't realize that they had. Now, timelines is in here. They have your atlas, so you can look at your atlas. They added canvases, which was a feature that they added a couple of years ago with Logos, that you can go in and create diagrams to, like, graphics to like take a verse, diagram it out, create graphics for it. And I've used it a little bit in some of my study of First Corinthians to like break down a chapter and like when I was doing my spiritual gift study, to break down all the different spiritual gifts. What do these gifts mean? What are they? And being able to create a graphic for all this stuff.
So is it kind of like a whiteboard feature, sort of?
Sort of, yeah. So let me pull up. This is my First Corinthians 13, 4 through 8 that I did. I'll see if I can. It's kind of hard to show because I've got a lot of, you have all your stuff around it here. Let me see if I can get rid of that sidebar. But like I went through and diagrammed what love is. And so, and kind of categorize them by color. Yeah. So it's a little bit more like a mind map. But, but yeah, so I diagram that out, and now that's available on the iPad to be able to do that. So, let me see. There was one other thing that I thought was really neat that they added, and I think it's a work in progress, honestly, because I tried using it this morning and it didn't work as well as I wanted it to. But they have a new feature. If you notice the menu at the bottom of that, you can write right in the text of the Bible. and like scribble on it and make notes and stuff like that. What it doesn't do is save into Logos that way. So if you pull that back up later, you're not going to see that annotation. But what you can do is you can share it out. So you can save a photo.
That answers my next question.
Yeah, you can save it into notes. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah, you can.
That's cool though. It uses the native. Sorry.
Yeah, it uses the native like Apple
markup
Pencil
feature.
stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you can
clever.
see the menu there. It allows you to save it to photos. Maybe that's a little hard to read like that.
Yeah, it's copy image, save to photo, save as a note, and then there's the share menu too, so you can get it into other stuff.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, see, I'm already thinking about how I can pair Logos with Obsidian.
So here's the disappointing thing. There has been some talk in the Obsidian boards about whether or not there is Logos in interactivity between the two. At this point, nobody has put together a plugin for this. So, which
copy and paste, my guy.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of copy and pasting. But at the same time, like a lot of the features that you're going to use in Obsidian for note taking and stuff like that is all native in Logos. So
right, no, I get that, but I want all of my notes in one place, and I already have an exceptional amount of notes about the Bible, theology, faith, like the whole, realm of all of my articles that I read get piped in there, all the highlights. So in that regard, Logos would be supplemental, I think, to the system that I have in place. Now, that being said, it could change, right? Because I haven't gotten my hands on it yet. You know, I might get my hands on it and go, ooh, and want everything to live there, but we'll see.
So one thing that I would look into, Logos is really good about giving the opportunity to export stuff in different formats. And I don't know if it does this, but I can look into it, is whether or not in your Logos notes, if the notes themselves can be exported as a text file, and then it could be either copy and pasted, or I'm assuming it probably would have to be copy and pasted into Obsidian. But if they would give you the ability to export it, obviously it's going to be a couple steps to get it into Obsidian. Once you've done the study, you're finished with the study, export all your notes and throw them into Obsidian, and then you put your backlinks in, stuff like that to connect everything together. But it might be a way of kind of smoothing out that process.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that in that case, then you start your study in Logos and move it into Obsidian as your database. Of all your
finished
stuff.
product, the finished product. Yeah. No, so I'm definitely going to download the free version. Yeah, I'm definitely going to download the free version just to poke the bear a little bit and see. Now, obviously, there will be missing features, but and the free version does come with some of those Logos editions as well, so you can get that experience. And I'll probably watch the marketing video, maybe the live stream. But this is because I have a lot of commentaries and books by old dead guys, that are great. But if I can just scan the ISBN information, and then all of a sudden the entire Institutes of Calvin, or the Summa Theologica, like these epic giant 1,000-page books, right? Or just even the commentaries, that would be amazing, because I've been trying to do that manually in Obsidian and I have failed because it's so much work and so much time. That it's a brilliant feature. And there's obviously a bunch of other ones. Like you haven't even mentioned the the references and citations and quotations, where it shows you like, oh, this is the passage that Paul is quoting here, and this is the passage that Jesus is referencing here in Isaiah, and like the visual stuff, and then the word breakdowns of like, okay, like on the website it shows you wisdom, and it shows you like the 5 or 6 different Hebrew words that can be rendered wisdom, and how popular, like how many times this one gets used versus this one. And like, that's the sort of stuff that I'm like, I could go down that rabbit hole for a long time.
I'll tell you, you can pick a verse, a one verse, and spend hours digging into, because the biblical word study is deep. Like, you know, when you're, see, our church, my pastor doesn't like to promote Logos as an option for a lot of people. This is a niche thing. And I don't know that Logos is for everybody, because you have to take time to learn, you know, how things work. And, you know, because like I was talking to the guys at our Bible study the other day, or maybe it was biblical counseling study or something, but when you want to look up the Greek for a particular word, there's like a little quick way you can do it, and then there's a little bit different way you can do it, or you can pull up the interlinear option at the bottom that will allow you to look at how it fits into the verse, and whether or not the word is actually there. But then if you want to do like a Bible word study on it, now there's a whole different layer of depth. So getting to learn how to navigate your different features and what feature is right for what time, you know, for what you're doing. So maybe all you need to do is come up with a Greek word, and that's all you need. Greek word, quick explanation. You want to see if it's in the nominative sense, maybe, or whatever. You can do that real quick. But if you want to do more of a Bible word study and say, hey, you know what? I want to know where this word is used in all of Paul's books, you know, and how did he use this word throughout his books, so I can get a better understanding of how he's using this word here, and get a deeper sense of that word. I'm not sure why he used this word here. So let me think about this. Let me look at how he's using this throughout his books. And so it gives you so much better ability to study that out and to learn more about the original text and all that it just makes it a lot easier. But you have to know what layer to work with, what feature to grab for this particular application, because Logos is such a powerhouse. So
yeah, I'm gonna dip my toe in that pond and see how it feels.
Yeah. Well,
this is very cool.
One other thing I did not talk about is that they introduced preaching mode on the iPad. So you build your sermon in Logos, and then you go into preaching mode on your iPad, and it literally takes you step by step through your sermon, and you can preach completely off your iPad.
Nice.
Yeah, and allows you to set up, if you use Proclaim as your presentation software, you can actually put together your whole sermon's slide set and everything like that right in Logos, and then you just transfer it to Proclaim.
Yeah, I might have to have you run me through Proclaim one time, just like FaceTime, just because it's the same exact price as ProPresenter, but you get unlimited seats.
Yeah.
And the ability to collaborate, and there's the whole media library that you can get with it. And we use ProPresenter, but we use like maybe 20% of its capability, because we're not doing multiple projectors onto one giant screen. Like, we have a projector above the stage and a projector above the back wall, so that the singers can see the lyrics, right? We're not doing anything crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so for the same price, to get all of the features that we need, plus unlimited seats and some compatibility or collaborate, like, so I might have to have you run me through it at some point, so I can.
Are you familiar with what a confidence monitor is?
Yes.
Okay. So the way I have our church set up right now is that the front screen is all your slides. And then we have a back screen in the back that I actually set up as a confidence monitor. So what that does for like when you're doing worship, your worship slide is up front for the congregation, but in the back, because it's hard to read those slides on the TV that we have back there, the confidence monitor takes it and puts it white text on a black background and beefs up the size of the lettering and everything like that. So if they want to read it from the stage, they can read it from the stage. Whereas the slides themselves are a little bit harder to read from the front stage on the back wall. So that works out really well for us. It also has the time, and we can set timers for different things if we want and put those up there. I don't do that because I don't feel a need to have the worship service structured that tightly. If we wanted to, I could put a timer on a presenter and just say, hey, you got 10 minutes, so the clock's right there. When your time runs out, you're done. So, but we don't do that. But do that to the preacher. my pastor would look at me and say, no, I'm not doing that. So he was killing me last week. I'm trying to follow him with the camera, and I only have one camera, and I'm trying to, he's walking all over the place, and I'm trying to follow him, and I don't like to move the camera when we're on that camera. So, because I think it looks really amateurish to do that. So I try to go to something and then come back to the camera having been moved. So I kept like going to his slide that he's talking about, moving the camera to him, then putting the slide back up there. And by the time I get that slide back up there, he's walking out of the frame already. And it was making me so crazy. So I finally just zoomed the camera back and just left it. So, but good times. Just had to get that off my chest this week. You're the first person I've been able to talk to about that. But no,
all right. Well,
no, I really enjoy the integration of Logos with Proclaim, and just all the cool stuff you can do with Proclaim is just incredible.
Yeah, you're about to, I think, make me spend money, Mitch. So, thanks for that, buddy.
Did I mention that Proclaim has NDI channels too? So you can set up a network. What does NDI stand for? Network Display Interface. But you can set up, like for the live stream, I used to set up an NDI for that so that I could just do overlays over the video. So instead of showing the whole slide, it would just be an overlay, like a lower third for the worship music and stuff like that. When I switched over to using Ecamm for our live stream software, which has been working much more stably than Streamlabs was for me before, because I'm on a Mac and OBS and Slobs doesn't seem to work real great on Mac computers. Ecamm has been way more reliable. But when I switched over to Ecamm, I just went to an overlay of basically the slide. So as we're doing worship, it's showing the worship slide with the lyrics on it and such in an overlay instead of doing it with the NDI. But yeah, it goes deep, man. So cool. Well, you got anything else that's got you excited this week before we wrap up?
I mean, Michigan plays Penn State today, but you know that has me excited now. We'll see how I feel later today about it. But it's number 5 versus number 10, so it should be a good game, regardless of who wins.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even know who we play tomorrow. The Packers, that is. You ever pick up your phone and you're like, you totally forgot why you picked it up?
Yep.
That happens to me all the time. I'll be like, oh, I need to look this thing up. And then I pick up my phone. I'm like, ooh, I have email or something. It drives me mad. We got the Jets tomorrow.
A lot of green.
A lot of green. They'll be at Lambeau, so that means Packers will be in green, Jets will probably be in white. Is that right? Or is it flip reversed? Home jerseys
if
are white.
you're at Lambeau, you'll be green.
Oh,
green jerseys.
Green jersey? Okay. Yep, that makes sense. So, well, cool, man. Another good show in the can, and it's kind of a long one, so I'm going to have lots of editing to do. I think I just talked a long time about Logos.
Okay, I talked a long time about Rings of Power, so you balanced it out.
It's good.
Because mine's all made up.
Yep.
Yours isn't.
All right. Well, you are listening to Inner Dialogue, and if you would like to know a little bit more about the show, a little bit more about us, maybe get to the back catalog, you can check us out at innerdialogue.show. And Cam, where can people find more information about you?
CamBrennan.com.
Indeed. And if you'd like to know more about me, you can check me out at mitchcraig.online. And I got a really good deal on the on that URL, and now I see it's up for renewal, and I don't have as good a deal this time around, so I'm disappointed about that. But it's good. And I will be switching that one over to a bio site. It's a new thing that Squarespace released this last week. It's a really cool, just little fancy one pager talking about, or with giving you the ability to put your socials on there, any websites that you have. It's a little bit, it reminds me a little bit of where About Me or About.me started years ago. And it's just a little prettier and a little nicer to work with. And you can design and add all your information right from your phone as well. So Squarespace has been really smart about how they design this. So I have designed one for myself, but I have not repointed my website or URL to that site yet. So once I get a chance, I will do that, and you'll be able to see what I created. So very good. Otherwise, it's biosites/Mitch Craig. bio.sites/Mitch Craig.
Very good.
All right. Well, it's been fun, sir. I look forward to doing it again in a couple of weeks.
You bet.
All right. Take her easy, man.
Bye.
Later.